So you want to know how a homeless kid from Akron, Ohio can be deemed by Sports Illustrated, the biggest sports magazine in the world, as the chosen one? Well, it's kind of a long story.
The world need to hear this. Ignorant people fear this. Intelligent people love it. No one can rise above it. It's far from your understanding. It came from God's plan and it's potent and very lethal. The knowledge of my people is something authenticated. The way it originated is why it should be debated.
In the year 1916, Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company purchased land near Akron, Ohio to produce war zeppelins that would be manufactured for World Wars I and II. But look out below, there's a war going on poverty in the hungry streets of Akron, and word is, Simba is lost with no home. You see, Gloria knows best, mothers always do. And when she says it's time to go, 8-year-old LeBron knows the drill. After all, this is only his 12th time moving in the last 3 years. A lot of times they sleep on the floor unless there's an extra couch. Mom says he's going to school tomorrow, like it or not. But she's been saying that all week. For Glo and LeBron, life wasn't always like this. In fact, it was never like this. The industrial city of Cleveland, Ohio. Some people consider Akron a part of Cleveland, but don't say that in Akron or you might have a problem. Akroners hold their own, and they'll tell you proudly, they don't need Cleveland, which was pretty much the case for 16-year-old Gloria. They were definitely not rich, but she had everything she needed. She lived in a house with her mother and grandmother. In fact, 4 generations of the James family lived in that house. In the back was a barn with horses and goats, and it was there where LeBron picked up his first basketball. With rusty nails holding a crate to a telephone pole, that was his first basketball goal. At age 16, Gloria would give birth to LeBron. His father, a man she was casually dating named Anthony McClellan. Anthony was in and out of jail and he had an extensive criminal history. Arson and theft, just to name a few. So is it related to Gloria and LeBron? He was never around. Gloria wasn't a hoodlum by any means, but she wasn't a saint either. She was described as being small but testy. In her youth, she would spend a total of 7 days in the county jail. Her transgressions included playing music too loudly, disorderly conduct, contempt of court, as well as criminal trespassing. But all things considered, Gloria, with the help of her mother and grandmother, were managing just fine. With family in the fold, this would allow Gloria to focus on school, and life was good and well for the James family. By the time LeBron James was 5 years of age, life became much different. His great-grandmother had passed away, and then on Christmas morning, his grandmother had a heart attack. His house, foreclosed, condemned, and bulldozed by the city. His mom, 19-year-old Gloria, was now on her own with a 5-year-old son.
I think it was in January, and it was cold during that time, and apparently the utilities had been cut off. And she came and said, "Mom, LeBron and Gloria don't have any heat over there. Can they come over here?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And they came and stayed here and slept on my couch for a good 3 to 4 months. You know, he went from home to home. His coach, he stayed with him for a time, and several other people. But everybody had a hand in his upbringing.
Gloria would suddenly find herself fending in the streets for survival with LeBron by her side, staying with anyone willing to take them in, for however long they were willing. Friends, boyfriends, family members. Between the ages of 5 and 8, LeBron would move a total of 12 times. As a 4th grader in 1993, LeBron would miss 82 days of school, having no way to get there. Gloria was 25 years old and jobless, doing her best to keep her and her son afloat. But no matter where they were, Glo always made sure that LeBron felt loved. LeBron would state that whatever my mom could or couldn't do, I always knew that nobody was more important in her life than I was. Watching Gloria fight through her struggles as a single mom would give LeBron pride and strength. One day when James and his friends were outside playing football, a man named Bruce Kelker pulled up. "Which one of you boys is LeBron?" He was a youth football coach who LeBron's godfather had told him about. Kelker lined the boys up and made them race. You know Bron smoked them boys. Kelker, already impressed by LeBron's size, was like, "Oh, he's fast too?" Ooh. Bruce was able to convince Gloria to let LeBron play, even though she at first said no because she had no money for equipment or transportation. But Bruce promised he would take care of everything, so Gloria agreed. LeBron took his first handoff and went 80 yards to the house, Kelka would tell you. The other parents were complaining, demanding to know what age he was. Gloria even became the team mom, and everything was great. But then something happened that Gloria could have never imagined. Bruce offered to take her and LeBron in till Gloria got on her feet. He could tell they were struggling at the time, and they would live with Bruce for a brief time. But near the end of '93, Kelka's girlfriend was feeling the strain of having 4 people in the household. Enter in Frank Walker, another Pee Wee coach who also felt bad to see what this kid was going through. He looked like a child that was beyond his years, and Frank wanted him to enjoy his childhood. This was a very difficult decision for Gloria, but she knew that it was best for her son. So Frank took LeBron in to live with him, his wife, and 3 sons, which would be a big turning point in LeBron's life. Gloria would also remain a steady presence in her son's life by getting him every weekend. It would actually be Frank's other team that he coached where LeBron would get his first taste of organized basketball. He would play for Frank's basketball team, the Hornets, and things began going great for LeBron after that. He began going back to school regularly, even making perfect attendance. It was his first time being amongst the male-female family dynamic, and the Walkers provided him with love, structure, and stability. LeBron would stay with the Walkers for a year, returning to Gloria after she got a 2-bedroom apartment in Elizabeth Park Projects. RIEDINGER Middle School, Akron, Ohio. The kids are completely turned up as class lets out early for the annual Teachers vs. Students game. The students had never won as long as anyone could remember, and the teachers were not going to lose their undefeated status today. So this time they had help from the high school as well as Akron Police Department posing as teachers. See, LeBron was now playing AAU after being recruited by a coach named Drew Joyce, who would become one of LeBron's mentors, and his team was undefeated, won the city championship, and was now set to play in the AAU finals. So the teachers were worried, to say the least. The game was close in the beginning, and the crowd of students and faculty members were growing louder and louder. The middle school kids led by LeBron eventually took control of the game and pulled away. And that's when it happened. LeBron, dominating as usual, looked up as he shot towards the goal. The ball piercing the air was coming at lightning speed, and he was by himself. 2 seconds felt like 2 minutes as the crowd anticipated his next move. He dunked it. Not a Cleveland Cavalier LeBron dunk, but a middle school dunk. He barely got it through, but his young fingers definitely touched the rim. His first dunk. The crowd went nuts, and the legacy of LeBron James had begun. After dominating a series of tournaments, LeBron would become a top National 5 prospect. Technically, he was supposed to attend the all-black school John R. Butchell, but him and his AAU teammates made a vow that they would never leave each other, which meant the entire AAU team, along with Coach Drew, would all go to St. Vincent Mary's together. Living in the projects, Gloria couldn't understand why all of LeBron's friends now spent all of their time at their house. She wasn't complaining, but the other kids' homes were just much nicer. But if you think about it, LeBron finally had a place to call home. After spending years going from house to house, it was finally his turn to have friends over. One morning, the kids woke up to get some cereal and looked at LeBron like, "You grew 2 inches last night." It was crazy. They couldn't believe it. In fact, the summer before his 10th grade, LeBron had grew to 6'6". Then he showed up to school in a Navigator. But whose Navigator was it? Enter in Eddie Jackson, an ex-boyfriend of Gloria's. Eddie had did 2 years and 3 months for drug trafficking in the early 90s. And one Christmas, Eddie showed up to the Walkers to give LeBron a PlayStation 2. And it seemed like the bigger LeBron got, so did the gifts. The year before, he actually gave LeBron a '95 Ford Explorer. LeBron would become close to Eddie, even more so than the Walkers. He would ask Eddie to become his financial advisor alongside with Gloria. He even called him Dad. LeBron also became close with a youth mentor named Chris Dennis, who would show a tape of LeBron to Sonny Vaccaro, who was an Adidas executive, best known for building the Jordan brand when he was at Nike. Sonny then took it a step further by becoming friends with Eddie, and all of a sudden, Adidas was now the official shoe sponsor of St. Vincent. LeBron was already a size 15. A local reporter dubbed LeBron as King James in the Akron newspaper, and the name was beginning to stick. Now, LeBron wore number 23 because he looked up to Michael Jordan, but when the real 23 summoned LeBron for private scrimmages before the 01-02 season, the 10th grade LeBron literally found himself looking up at Michael Jordan. Jordan. Jordan put LeBron up against NBA players Jerry Stackhouse and Corey Maggette, and the kid held his own. Michael was definitely impressed, and from that moment on, LeBron had his personal phone number. Maybe that was who called when LeBron put Antoine Walker on hold. Jordan eventually had to change his number when LeBron's friend stole it, called him, and hung up. After a dominating performance in Sonny Vaccaro's legendary ABCD camp, ESPN wrote an article on LeBron called Next, but Sports Illustrated took it up another level. Before LeBron was even a senior in high school, he was deemed the chosen one. He would also claim MVP of the McDonald's High School All-American game. His father, Eddie McClellan, wanted back into his life, but he had his shot, and LeBron would block all future attempts. At some point, Eddie was facing prison time again for mortgage fraud, and LeBron would began reevaluating the people in his circle. LeBron was even signing autographs now. Gloria was even spotted using some of those signed Adidas to gain entry into a local bingo game. Now, when the 11th grader reporter asked Gloria if LeBron would skip his senior year in high school to go to the NBA, Gloria said who wouldn't? She was actually getting a bad name around town for herself for screaming constantly, even rushing the court a few times when things got chippy. LeBron would ultimately have to get mama to relax a little. In the meantime, the crowds at St. Vincent High School games had grown exponentially, which concerned the fire marshal, so the games were moved to the University of Akron, which had a 6,000 seat capacity. The school reportedly generated $200,000 to $300,000 after making the switch. But if you couldn't make his home games, no worries. In 14 Ohio counties, you could view them for $7.95 on pay-per-view. They even broadcasted one of his games on ESPN, which was unheard of at the time. A high school game? Really? And he was interviewed by the legend Dickie V himself. I hope Kobe watches, LeBron said. And then there was the unofficial workout for the Cleveland Cavaliers, in which Coach John Lucas was suspended 2 games and fined $150,000 for. But it was worth it to see James dunk on Jermaine Jones and then dunk backwards on Chris Mim. Adidas engraved James' shoes and made him a gold mouthpiece with King James on the front and Gloria across the molars. They went perfect with the free Adidas shoes and uniforms that Sonny was sending in bulk. But soon LeBron would face some adversity as he broke his left wrist during the summer AAU game in Chicago. NBA pros Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson, who came to see LeBron play, was quickly reminded of LeBron's age when they seen him crying wrapped up in Gloria's arms. Luckily for him, Michael Jordan would provide his personal orthopedist as well as his personal trainer to get Bron through the summer. LeBron would lead St. Vincent to 3 state championships, one season averaging 30 points a game while winning every basketball accolade under the Ohio sun, and he still maintained a 3.2 GPA. Crown.
In the 4th grade, I missed 80 days of school, and that following year, I met a family in the Walker family, and, they had a support system. I met some Little League coaches playing basketball and football, and the following year, I didn't miss 1 day of school. So I feel like this is the point where, we can kind of get into the minds of the kids to let them know that we're here for them. And I think that's what kids ultimately want. They just want someone to feel like someone care about them, and that's what we're trying to, do here.